Today, this morning, again, we are going to be talking about generally, of course, the spiritual development. But obviously, spiritual development needs a different sorts of method, different methods. Uh, and uh, from Buddhist point of view, uh, uh, the methods are divided into four. So one needs to develop the wisdom first. And the wisdom, within wisdom, we do have different types of wisdom we talk about. But the first thing is we have to understand what is really the life. That is very important. If we don't understand what about the life, then we sort of like, that is the point where we sort of start our ignorant. The ignorant always functions along with the day-to-day life. And that is definitely the problematic, very sort of a cause of a problem all the time. So the life is becoming like a presumption. We always presume, presumably okay, but we are not sure. So it's just a presumption. And in other words, I would say life is always gambling. We are just gambling. Gamble, and try for happiness, try for good, try for better life, better next, better future. But trying, but never know. Never know whether that is going to be achieved or not. So therefore, we need a wisdom so that it is not going to be only gambling or presumption. Living by presumption is, I don't think it is a fun, because we have to presume. Everything is presumed. Presumably tomorrow will be better than the today, but who knows? For example, the weather broadcast. Nowadays, technologically, we say that there is some kind of a way to broadcast your weather. But sometime, the day that I came here, they were saying that it's going to be rain. But it never rained in Hong Kong. So it's like even the technologically, the computer and all these things also, they predict and they broadcast. But sometimes it doesn't hit on the point. So it's a presumption. So it's presumably tomorrow is going to be raining, but we don't know. So that sort of thing. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we should really be developing the wisdom. So we will. So our life will be like a better organized. So therefore, the life, the Buddha Shakyamuni was really concentrating or pointing to is the life that is very much impermanent. Of course, many sutra mentioned very directly the life is being a very suffering always, but doesn't mean that it has to be known as a suffering. It has to be known as a impermanent. That is much sort of like a softer way of approaching. You can call it suffering also. There's no doubt about it. Nothing wrong with it. But obviously it is much softer, much understandable, and much sort of like acceptable when we talk about life being impermanent, rather than life being a suffering. Many sutras says it's suffering. So Buddha Shakyamuni himself also said it very clearly that life is suffering. When he gives teaching, the first teaching in Varanasi, the Saranath, he was talking about nothing but life being a suffering. So this is what we have to understand. But suffering, what he meant by is impermanent. Impermanent. Life is impermanent. Therefore, it is known as suffering. It can be called suffering. But the thing you have to understand, first thing you have to understand is life, about the life, is the life being suffering, or life being impermanent. That is very important. It's amazing that, how we sort of perceive and how we look at the life being permanent. We think like that, we feel like that, but that's not true. That is really is like a very deceiving, It's really is misunderstanding, because the life is very impermanent. The time goes. When you look at a watch, the watch goes, keep on going. That means it's an impermanent. Buddha doesn't need to be there to tell you, or nobody needs to be there to tell you this. You just look at a watch, or you look at the sun going, sun passing through the days, and also you can look at anything. Everything become old, become everything is moving. That is what that's the reason why it is impermanent. We are all getting old. It is impermanent. So that is what we have to understand. So this is the first kind of a step that you have to understand, spiritual step, I would say. And then the second step is, of course, you have to understand what is really the cause of impermanent. The cause of impermanent, a cause of suffering. The subtle sufferings and the growth sufferings, both needs to be understood. What is really the cause of that? And cause itself is an ignorant, actually. Cause itself is an ignorant, nothing but ignorant. Ignorant, of course, if the ignorant really causes the immediate cause of the defilements are ignorant. And then, of course, that causes that, this causes that. There's a lot of sort of non-stop keep on sort of going, keep on sort of producing or whatever, creating. So that is the creativity of the world, if you like. We as a Buddhist, we don't, of course, if you all know that we don't believe in a God, creator. So that is the reason why we say that the world is not created by God or creator. It is created by your ignorant. You're ignorant, and because of the ignorant, you have a stupid kind of desire that, the attachment, that the world being permanent, life being permanent, universal or universe being permanent. So all these things are ignorant. So due to that, then you get attached, you get desire, you get sort of like connected with that. Then you sort of anyway, it's a kind of spontaneous kind of thing, automatic thing. It comes. It leads you to desire. It leads you to anger. Leads you to jealous. Leads you to pride and all these things. You can understand. I mean, logically. I wouldn't say that you will understand within a few minutes and realize the Buddha nature. I'm not saying that, but you will definitely be understanding, intellectually at least. If you think about it, because we are very much like we are very much led by the ignorant. Ignorant tells you indirectly or directly somehow. Ignorant tells you that everything is permanent. Everything is solidly sort of existent, inherently existent. Tells you indirectly or directly, definitely. Even if you don't believe it, it's if you check it, if you check closely, ignorant tells you, keep on giving information, that sort of information, subtle information, that everything is permanent. So that information gets into very much deep down into the into the system, the physical system as well as, of course, mental system. So that is the reason why the mentally or whatever, we are very solidly sort of attached, means solidly misunderstood. Solidly misunderstood, no matter what you say. Maybe you are a Buddhist, maybe you are a monk, maybe you are a yogi looking, and maybe you are I don't know, female, male, and which kind of country, doesn't matter. But you are coming from, doesn't matter. But you are basically, you are very much how do you say, misunderstood. You were told, and misinformed, very much so. Therefore, then you can't really get rid of the suffering. You can't get rid of the suffering. Why? Because the cause of growth suffering also. We're not talking about the subtle suffering. Subtle suffering cause of the subtle suffering is the ignorant, very subtle ignorant. That is what I mentioned already. But the growth of suffering, the suffering, the cause of the growth suffering is defilement and desire, ignorant. What you call that? Anger, jealousy, etc., etc. All these causes are based on what sort of thing? It is based on ignorant. Ignorant about what? About world being permanent. That is the thing. About this, we are very much ignorant about that, about the world. So we always think that the subtly, whether you believe it or not, we always think that the world is permanent. World is inherently exist. Even though, the debaters, for example, the academic debaters, academic learned person, so-called Kempo, abbot, learned person, masters, and all these things, they can debate days and days, about world being impermanent, world being not exist, world being inherently not exist. They can talk about that for many days because they are abbot, they are expert on this talking and debating. But if you really check whether they deeply believe in what they are saying, I don't think so. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. They're talking too much, but they don't believe it. They don't believe in what they say. Because inherently, or in sort of like very much in detail or in subtle, they have still that misinformation, subtle misinformation, saying that, well, hey, world is existing, okay? World is inherently exist. That is the subtle kind of information always injecting in their mind. That's very strong, no matter what they're talking, what they're really debating, what they really talk. That's just very, very funny, very interesting anyway. And also it's not only abbot, but those people who are pretending to be yogi, pretending to be meditator, pretending to be master, pretending to be whatever, practitioner, retreatant, and all these things. They all have this kind of misunderstanding. I wouldn't say they all, but many of them, many of them has this kind of problem, subtle problem, that tells them, keep on telling them that it is inherently exist. So that is what we call ignorant. That is ignorant. That itself is ignorant. There's nothing, no other than that, so-called ignorant. There's no other than that. I'm telling you. People think ignorant means like a very dark and that you cannot see anything, and you are like lost. You become like a robot or something like that. Ignorant is like that. No, it's not like that. Ignorant always comes in a very smart way. Very smart. Looks perfectly okay. Seems perfectly functioning well. And all these things. Very good. Very smart. It looks very smart. It doesn't look very dull and dumb. It doesn't look so. So this is the reason why we have to understand. We have to be very careful about the ignorant. Because then if you are careful about the ignorant and understand about the ignorant, what it really functions and what it really causes, then you will understand. Then you will understand and you will be able to sort of handle the defilements. That is the thing. We always talk about how bad the defilement, how bad the desire is, how bad the anger is, how bad the jealousy is, this and that. Yes, we talk about it. I'm not interested in talking about how bad the jealousy, how bad the ignorance, how bad the anger, because we all know. But I'm interested more into talking about the ignorant. The what is the ignorant? That is the thing. Because it causes the defilement. If you don't know the cause of defilement, then talking negative about the defilement doesn't make any sense. superficially, I mean, yes, external sort of yanas of teachings of Lord Buddha always say, you have to tame yourself. You have to tame your desire. You have to sort of like, you have to subdue your desire, subdue your anger, subdue your this thing, that thing. They always talk about it. Theravadan always talk about it, and also Mahayana as well. And the external practitioners all are talking about that. And of course, in some extent, the Vajrayana also talk about it. We always talk about it. But the Buddhist, and I think non-Buddhist also, they don't seem to be liking very much that desire and anger and all these things. But whether or not, whether you like it or not, I mean, that is not a very big issue. Even if you don't like it, what to do? It's there. You can't help it. Disliking doesn't help that much. You have to know what is the cause of it. So if you know the cause of it, then you will automatically be able to control, if you like. Automatically you will be able to control the anger. For instance, if you sort of like provoked yourself to be sort of angry with somebody else, then that means that actually means literally, actually you are getting angry to this person. Why? Because this person is inherently exist to you. That is the reason you are getting angry. If you know somehow, if you are lucky enough to know that he is not inherently exist, he is exist in a way. His name is so and so, his color is so and so, his nationality is so and so. Yes, his physical body is look like that, and he says so and so. Yes, but inherently not exist. You know that. If you are lucky enough to know that his figure and his voice, his whatever, his existence is not inherently exist. If you know that, where this anger comes from, actually, the anger will never be able to be sort of so solidly sort of functioning. Never. It's logical, very logical. But it's happening very vividly, that anger to us as a lay people, that anger is very vividly there. Why? Because that person is somehow inherently exist to me, to us. Therefore, the anger also comes very inherently exist, very much in the form of existence, very strongly, solidly there. I can even kill him. I can even kill myself also out of my anger. Everything is very vividly there. And it's very painful also. That is what we call suffering, the growth suffering. Growth suffering. Not the subtle suffering. Subtle suffering is there, but it is already become growth sufferings. So then growth suffering really is now it's suffering. You can commit suicide, you can shout, you can make family horrible time, you can give family very bad time, because you're very angry. You don't want to have lunch, you don't want to have breakfast, because you are angry. So that's the reason. The anger is very much solidly there, inherently there. Why? Because that person whoever is like a kind of supposed to be the person who provoked your anger is very much inherently there. That is what we call ignorant. That's it. That's ignorant. But then it's masters, they may be able to point out to you that this is the ignorant. And of course some of the Vajra brother and sisters, they may be able to point it to you that this is this so and so. But you actually, this is not really depends upon the 100% depends upon the pointing it to you. You have to understand, you have to find out by yourself. This is what the Buddha Shakyamuni said. You have to find your own way, and finally you have to be the master of yourself. You shouldn't rely on somebody else, so-called master. He is my master, she is my master. No, you have to be your master. That is the final thing. So anyway, before, I don't want to take much of your time talking about these things, but it's just like foundation thing, because you have to understand that. Even if the main practice is like considered to be Yangtik, but you have to understand these things. In other way, this is so-called Four Noble Truth. This is what we say. It's a commonly known Four Noble Truth. But commonly known is the Four Noble Truth, but we don't know anything about the Four Noble Truth. And we don't know. Don't we know anything? We never heard of it, or what? No. Yes, we heard of it for, I don't know, millions of times. And we know how to express it, how to sort of pronounce it. Yes, of course, we know how to pronounce it very nicely. We memorized very nicely also. But then we don't know. Still we don't know. Why? Because we are not contemplating. We never contemplated. We never thought about it. That is the why we are not very good student. We are not very good follower. We are not very good Buddhist. That is the reason why we are not behaving nicely also. And then that's the reason why we are suffering. So the suffering comes then. That is the thing. That is the second step. That how you fix it. How you get rid of your suffering. There are many ways of getting rid of your suffering. For example, mantra chanting is also a way of getting rid of your suffering. Ritual practices, all the rituality that practices are also very much the ways of getting rid of the obstacles. Getting rid of your sufferings. But all of them are secondary, I would say. This is what my feeling is, and also many of the sutra and many of the sort of like method that Buddha Shakyamuni has given were driving at, is that we all need to really be contemplating it. For example, right now I'm talking, I'm giving teaching or whatever. I'm talking on these sort of things. But when you listen, it is not only just a time to listen. But also it's time to contemplate at the same time. Listen and the contemplation needs to really become simultaneously. The contemplation should be really taking place on the spot when you listen to the teaching. Contemplation is very much needed, so that you will definitely be able to. Next step is meditation, so that the meditation will be able to do it nicely. Right now, without contemplation, you can't really understand what is. When it comes to meditation, when it comes to visualization of Guru Padma Sambhava, visualization of Avalokiteshvara, Amitabha, you don't know. Obviously, it is very much like you are very much like bound to be lost, because you are not contemplated. The teaching and meditation, between the teaching and meditation, there's a bridge. The bridge is contemplation. But the process of contemplation is not there. So you cannot really be able to sort of jump into the meditation session. You're bound to be lost. That's for sure. You deserve it. And it's really happening. Nowadays, many of the practitioners, like a Sangit practitioners, you all do the Dhammaru and bell quite well. So I'm very happy about it. But at the same time, are you sort of able to sort of put yourself into the meditation and process of practices very genuinely, very precisely? No, you aren't, because you're not able to sort of like put the bridge between the teaching and the meditation itself. So that the bridge is the contemplation. You have to contemplate. You have to think while you are going to office, while you are going to kitchen, while you are going to sort of like a toilet, while you are going to sort of dress, while you are going to go to a dress, whatever. You need to really be contemplating, talking innerly, talking to yourself. What is the life? How about, this? How about that? You should check. You have to be scientific, scientist by yourself. You have to really check and check and check. Even though, of course, some of the meditation, and especially the great perfection meditation, Dzogchen, some masters, they say checking is rubbish. You don't check. Checking doesn't make any sense. But for the people like me, us, lay people, we should really be checking ourselves first. Checking ourselves rather than the checking ourselves and checking our life, not only just our mind. Check the mind. But that's also one of the things. But it's not only important, the mind is the only concentration. It's not the only mind. But also, at the same time, you have to check all the things that is connected with your day-to-day life. That is the thing. Especially when you go through the emotional state of mind, emotional state of the life, that needs to be checked. And checked to get what? To get the insight of the phenomena, insight of life. That is the thing. Existence or not exist. Looks very much existent, but it's existing or not? No, it is not exist. So it is a little bit of philosophical also, but you have to contemplate in that sort of things. It's the nutshell is existence and not existing. That is the question. That is the contemplation. If it is exist, then you have to understand how does it exist. And that, the nutshell you have to think about is that, how can it be exist? When it is when it is gone, when it is expired, it is expired. There is nobody. If somebody that person, Mr. B, that you are angry at, or you are struggling with, or you are having fun with, or whatever, when he dies, when she dies, there's nobody, there's nothing. His belongings are just left there. He's gone. Where? Nobody knows. He's gone. So this actually means he's inherently not exist. If it is inherently exist, he has to be there. If he inherently exists, he has to be there forever. It's the same thing, the table, the house, the existence in the world. All are going and gone. The castles are gone and going. The kings are gone and going. And also everything is going. Even the mountains, huge mountains are also becoming, it's going. Even though it looks very solid, very big, and the mountain will, we feel that the mountains are forever there. No, that will also be vanished. And that will be vanished, and it's every minute, every second, it is vanishing. It is going. It is sort of like moving towards the empty, towards what you call that, towards its own, the end of its own existence. So that is the thing. That is the reason why the none of the entities are inherently exist. So this is the reason why we have to understand. So I don't really have to talk too much about it, because then I'm going to give all the Madhyamaka teachings, and so then of course we don't have time, B, of course you wouldn't understand what is really all about. So the thing is, I just want to give you some sort of a place or a window that you can really look through, just a small window that you can look through. That's it. And then if you could manage to put yourself, just to make yourself available to sort of look through this tiny window, and you will, even though it is a very tiny window, you can even see whole world this through a tiny window, So that is the reason why you have to really be sort of able to sort of contemplate. That is what the first step, or maybe the second step, you can say, second step of the spiritual practices. First, of course, you have to understand the cause, understand the life, the being impermanent, and then how to sort it out, the problem. That is the second thing. And then, of course, third and fourth is going to be then practice. The practice that you have to practice. You have to be able to practice to get the realization. The realization is the final thing. Final, that is the fourth one. But before that, obviously, you have to then practice. The practical. When you come into a practice, then of course there is a Vajrayana practice, Mahayana practice, and whatever. But then the Mahayana or Sutrayana practice is very much based on the cause of the phenomena. And then the Vajrayana is very much based on the concentrate on the fruit of the phenomena. So that is the thing. So so in Vajrayana means, now we are talking about the Vajrayana now. In the Vajrayana, the Guru Yangtik. Today we are. Generally speaking, I'm interested in leading you in like a Yangtik in this year, and then the Singitsewa in next year, and then Yangtik in the next the following year. So this like a take turn is better. I think that'll be better, because these two are the main sort of a practice that we are really concentrating on this retreat. And this retreat is going to be like an annual retreat, and those of you who are interested into genuine practices, I think they should really be coming to this retreat. So this year, it is supposed to be Yangtik practice, kind of Yangtik's turn, if you like. So. So Yangtik is obviously, it's not only just a Vajrayana, but it's a very tantric yana, and very much the top notch of the teaching of Lord Buddha. We call it Ati Yoga. Ati Yoga. However, now the Ku Sung Tuk Tik, Tik. Tik in in our language is the droplet, which means concentrate, drop. So it's a very much concentrated kind of drop. So and that drop that we are talking about is the reality of the body, speech, and mind. Not just the physical appearance of the body, speech, and mind, but it's a reality state of the body and speech and mind. Om Ahong in mantra, that is the Sambhogakaya form. Sambhogakaya form, when we talk about the body and speech and mind, that is Om Ahong, And in the what do you call that? The Nirmanakaya form, then it comes into the Dharma. What do you call that? Guru Padmasambhava, Avalokiteshvara, and Amitabha. These three form. That is three kaya or whatever, three forms that comes. And in the Dharmakaya. In the Dharmakaya, what you have to understand, what you really have to sort of like consolidate into your wisdom is all the existence that is possibly there in this universe are the Nimanakaya, and all the what do you call that? All the voice, all the sound that's possibly there in the universe. It's the Sambhogakaya form, and those are the things that you can think of. You can be sort of thinking of, or you can be perceiving of, and you can be imagining of. Are the Dharmakaya form. So these three. So you have to understand that. That is what we call the concentrated form of the practice of the Guru Yangtik. Tik Tik is the same thing. Tik, T-I-K, tik, and the T-H-I-K, tik. It doesn't matter. That actually refers to the concentrated drop. You know, that is the thing. So concentrated drop means the very much concentrated way of understanding or way of looking at or approaching the universe. That is the thing. Our way of approaching this is ignorant way of approaching the universe. We are approaching to universe actually, you know, with the one way or another, whether or not believe it or not. It is done. It is always there. It is done. You are approaching the universe. In that way, you are even approaching the Dzogchen. You are approaching the Adi Yoga. You are approaching the Mahamudra. You are approaching to the emptiness and etc. But just because of ignorance, we are not doing anything. We are lost. Just because of ignorance, it's not because of anything. We are approaching. We are even we can call ourselves a Buddha. We are inherently Buddha, primordially Buddha. We are primordially Guru Padmasambhava. We are primordially Avalokiteshvara. We are primordially Amitabha. There's no problem. Not only just saying approaching. You don't even have to say approaching. You are Guru Padmasambhava. You are Dharmakaya. There is no doubt about it. But just because of ignorance, we are not Dharmakaya. We are lost. We don't know. So that is the reason why we have to go through all these steps to understand. At least 3 steps. Nirmanakaya steps, Sambhogakaya steps, and then the final step is the Dharmakaya. So you have to understand. So now, when we talk about the practice of the the Guru Yangtik, we are mainly going through the Nirmanakaya form of Nirmanakaya steps of the practice, because we are visualizing. We are visualizing mainly Guru Padmasambhava, along with the Avalokiteshvara inside and Amitabha form in the heart of the Avalokiteshvara. So as long as you have a form of visualization, that is the practice of the Nirmanakaya form, Nirmanakaya practice, Nirmanakaya step, if you like. It is a step. Generally, the Buddhist practice is going really according to the steps, step by step. So here we are talking about the 3 steps. Yeah? So that is very important. You have to understand 3 steps. Nirmanakaya steps, Sambhogakaya, and then the Dharmakaya steps. But so we have first step, that the Nirmanakaya step has to be done through the visualization. And as I always mention, I think last year also I was talking about it, Nirmanakaya form is a Nirmanakaya form of practice is a method to detach. I mean, if I may use that word, but that word is not good wording, but then I don't know, I can't find any better sort of terminology for that. But it's the visualization is normally to detach yourself from the ignorant way of perceiving all the things as it is. That is the reason why the visualization is needed. Visualization is just a method, to sort of like detach yourself. Because right now, as it is right now, we are very much attached to the phenomena, to all existence, as I mentioned just earlier. Everything to us, everything is solidly, inherently exist. Everything. Tree is inherently exist. Building is inherently exist. Everything is inherently exist. So therefore, inherently we are suffering. Inherently we are sort of like angry. Inherently we are jealous. And all the defilements are very much exist inherently. So that is the reason why the whole sort of like a samsara, if you like, whole universe is a very much inherently exist to us. So since this is wrong concept, since this is wrong sort of a perception, Lord Buddha want us to be able to detach ourselves from that sort of attitude and get ourselves into another form of, I don't know, form of another form of practices, or another form of palace or place, territory. So Nirmanakaya form has its own territory. It has its own sort of like a pure land. It has its own bodhisattvas and bodhisattvanis, and also it has many different sorts of things, similar to what we are here. You know, if you read some sutras describing about all these pure lands, it's kind of similar. You know, nowadays I think, modern time, I think the Nirmanakaya pure lands are also, they have maybe, they have maybe cars, they have maybe aeroplanes, who knows. But those old days, we don't really have the aeroplane anywhere. So they don't talk about aeroplane. They talk about horses. They talk about birds. They talk about different things, whatever we have here. So it's like that. Concept, when you change the concept of this world being so and so and so and so, and that the Nirmanakaya concept is also can be changed accordingly, because that is also under the umbrella of concept. It's not out of concept, conceptualization. If it is out of conceptualization, then it is almost a Nirmanakaya form. Nirmanakaya, and then the total out of conception, out of concept, and out of dualistic mind, then that is the state where you talk about Dharmakaya. That is very much the ultimate. But as long as you have a conceptual thought and conceptual arrangement, that is either in the Sambhogakaya or Nirmanakaya. So therefore when we talk about pure land of Guru Padmasambhava, when we talk about Guru Padmasambhava himself, when we talk about the Amitabha and his pure land, and Avalokiteshvara and his pure land Potala, and all these things, when we talk about all these things and we visualize it, it's not only just a talking, but we have to visualize it, and we have to we can even go there. Before leaving this body, you can even physically go there if you practice of Nirmanakaya form completed very nicely, accomplished very nicely, and achieved that level or steps of the understanding within this life. You can even go physically without leaving this body behind. You can go to that pure land of Amitabha physically. Why not? And physically you can go to Potala, where the pure land of Avalokiteshvara. And physically you can go to the pure land of the Guru Padmasambhava. No problem. No problem. Without leaving this body behind, you can go there. But you have to achieve that level, that level, the step, the Nirmanakaya understanding, accomplishment. That has to be achieved. Then you go to the Nirmanakaya pure land. When you reach to the Sambhogakaya pure, the achievement, the attainment, or the understanding accomplished, then you can go to the Nirmanakaya form. And Sambhogakaya form of the palace, Nirvana, and also the Pure Land. That is the thing. That is the reason. For example, like Anyway, I don't have to say all these things. I think it takes a long time. Anyway, there's that there are many yogis. They went to the Pure Land. I mean, scientifically, maybe not very much understandable, but like Changmit, this Changmit Raga.